Game day should be going to Bloomington. They're not. And Indiana fans are going to be disappointed with that. They should. They're going to be disappointed as well when they lose to Illinois.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin, and thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. I don't care what game day says. This is the real game of the week, along with Texas Tech, Utah. I'll get to that on tomorrow's show. Lots coming up today with Sonny Verma of Locked On Illini and Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. Smack talk galore is inbound on this show, which is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Sonny, should we even talk to Jacob, or should we just make him sit there and suffer in silence? Because I
knew I should have come on this show. I knew it. I knew what I was walking into. It's 2v1. That's fine. I'll defend us. I will defend the Hoosiers. Nobody else will, but I'll do it.
You will. You are going to have to, because I imagine Sonny isn't going to pick against the Illini in this spot. This is such an awesome way to kickstart Big Ten play. Like, this is truly excellent, because this is a great matchup. You've got two brands that have rapidly ascended in the last couple of years. Indiana, a big story last year. Illinois, for those who follow college football, was a huge story last year. Sonny, let's talk about our Illini in this particular game. My confidence is riding high because I like Bret Bielema, I like Luke Altmaier, I like their identity, I like their roster. I think they've replaced what they have lost. You have seen that. Talk about the stud they've got a wide receiver, as you know. So many reasons to like Illinois in this game, Sonny.
Let's go ahead and end the show right there, Spencer. I absolutely agree. I think you nailed it. You know, it's one of those where, if you and I are the louder ones in this particular episode, it's about time, because all over my timeline, it's been Hoosiers fans just antagonizing, just trolling constantly with memes here and there. I've never experienced something like this before over a program that 14 months ago nobody cared about. And so for me, it's one of those where if I circled this date as soon as it was released, I know Bret Bielema has. And I know he said it himself at the post-game press conference against Western Michigan. He said that he had circled, or he started scouting Indiana last year. He knows how important this game is, both for the Illinois program, and he knows how important this game is for the Indiana program. And I think Bret's going to have these boys ready, and I can't wait.
I am beyond excited. And Jacob, we'll allow you to defend the Hoosiers' honor here. You're so welcome. Just don't forget how kind and gracious I am as host of this particular program. But you feel good about Indiana. So do the sportsbooks, by the way. Our friends at FanDuel have got this Indiana minus 5.5. Spoiler alert. That's our best bet of the week for me. And my picks have been on fire this year, so that's a great sign for Illinois fans. But you feel
I was going to be able to talk here, or
yeah, I was just about to get to that. You feel good about the Hoosiers. Why?
I do feel really good. And it's funny you bring up the betting line, because I actually did a show about that this week on Locked On Hoosiers, because that scares the crap out of me. It really, really does. I genuinely thought Illinois would be favored in this game. I think Indiana's still the better team. I think Indiana wins, but the betting line is a little fishy to me. And I talked about that earlier in the week. But look, Curt Cignetti's been here before. Indiana has been here before, not in their history, but in recent memory, as Sonny alluded to. Look, that's no secret. Indiana football up until last year was a joke. It was embarrassing, and not a lot of people were in on it. But now it's a new era, and Curt Cignetti showed he can win games against tough opponents. The talent is even better than it was a year ago, and I think this is going to be a rock fight for 4 quarters against Illinois. But I think Fernando Mendoza has proven he is the correct answer at quarterback. I think Indiana's defense is one of the best in college football, and it's a home game at night in Bloomington. It doesn't get any better than this. I think it's a 4-quarter game. I really do, but I just think Indiana's more talented where it matters most.
I do fully expect Bloomington to be rocking. It's going to be a great visual. I'm excited to watch all of that. But Jacob, I do not say this in trolling fashion. Who is the best team Curt Cignetti has beaten since he got to Indiana?
It's a good question. It is. And I think you're looking at last year's schedule and the two games that everybody wants to talk about, right? Ohio State, Notre Dame. Indiana didn't win those games, but you did beat Michigan last year, who ended up getting some solid wins down the stretch. So that's probably my answer, is Michigan last year. But Indiana got better as the year went on, and they're rolling into this year. So you're absolutely right. It's prove it mode for Indiana, and you've got opportunities against Illinois, Oregon, and Penn State this year. So Michigan's my answer, but it's going to be Illinois after this week.
Sonny, refresh my memory. What was the score of the Illinois-Michigan game last season?
I will tell you, I know Illinois became the victor in that game as well, but I wanted to drop a note. Saturday during kickoff, it'll be 1,750 days since the Indiana Hoosiers beat a football team with a number in front of their name. It's one of those. Last year, Illinois beat 4 ranked teams. Indiana beat 0. It's great when you can beat Sisters of the Poor 73-0, but what does that actually prove about how good of a football team that you are? Bret Bielema, it may not always be the sexiest way, but he more often than not comes out on top, and that's what I'm looking forward to on Saturday. A little humbling of my Hoosier fan friends.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely more on the line for Curt Cignetti in this spot, because if he wins, I'm not going to suddenly be one of those guys, Illinois is not that good. Illinois is a pullback team. They were overrated last year. Like, I've never been that kind of guy, and I will give Curt Cignetti his flowers if he winds up winning the game and go, okay, that's the best win of the Curt Cignetti era, because I think it pretty clearly would be. I think this would fall into the top 3 of the Bret Bielema era. Sonny, correct me if I'm wrong there, but I don't think it would be number 1. I think South Carolina last year in the bowl game, frankly, would have to be pretty high on that list. I think the symbolism of beating Michigan was a pretty big deal. So when you're talking about playing in a game with these sorts of stakes and having your team ready emotionally for this sort of opponent, I go with the Illini as being the more prepared team for that.
I completely agree. I mean, last year, we got blasted by Oregon. I'll grant that, but a game again in Beaver Stadium.
You did? I don't remember that. Oh wait, yeah, I do.
Okay, moving on. A game at Penn State. Illinois was within 1 score with 4 minutes left in that game. A Penn State team that was, many argue was a top 5 football team last year. It's Illinois, as long as they can keep themselves and put themselves in a situation to win at the end. Again, you mentioned the South Carolina victory. There were 9.5-point underdogs going into that game. I just think that the number when it comes to the Vegas line doesn't matter. And quite honestly, if I'm being very truthful for you, I love to see that Indiana is 5.5-point favorites. You don't think Bret Bielema is making that locker room aware that, hey, you are ranked number 9. The Hoosiers are ranked, I think 19. Well, that 19 team is 5.5 points favored over you. I love it. I think that, if anything else, makes me more confident that Bret's just going to have these guys ready.
It's down to 4.5, according to our friends at FanDuel. I'm still taking Illinois in the points because I like him to win the game outright. How could that not be one of my best bets? Jacob, we'll get to the matchups and the breakdown, how this one gets decided in the next segment. But take us home on what this game means to Indiana and how a win would impact the program right now.
I mean, just being truthful, it would shut everybody up. It really would. It would show that Indiana is still a really good football team, that Curt Cignetti is still one of the best coaches in the Big Ten, if not college football. And this propels the Hoosiers into what is a tougher schedule than it was last year. Indiana goes on the road to Iowa next week, then a road game at Oregon, couple of weird games in between before Indiana goes to Penn State. They're not winning all of these games, but you got to win a couple of them. And if you can beat Illinois this weekend, I think you can beat Iowa next weekend, and then you split Penn State or Oregon, you're back in the college football playoffs. That's what this game means, college football playoff implications for Indiana and for Illinois.
Yeah, I don't think that you're out of it if you lose this one. Your margin just gets very, very thin.
Correct.
And if you have this feather in your cap, that can be something that works in your favor if you're, let's say, 10-2 and not in the Big Ten championship game, and it's 2 of Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State, and it's these 2 teams trying to get in. Yeah, 10-2 might be good enough if you have this particular win. So a lot on the line. How does it get decided? You are going to have to stick around to find out. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Like Illinois is going to move the ball up and down the field against Indiana all game long. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. Kind of like my confidence in Illinois beating Indiana this week. This is a crazy coincidence here. They've got more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. You can make everyday drives feel anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, Mazda's got it all. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. That is right. DoorDash is delivering your Saturdays, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players, or sides of the balls you're about to hear, delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. The hot seat for Billy Napier got hotter because of LSU's defense. 5 interceptions. Goodness gracious. I guess that means Blake Baker is the guy who delivered, LSU's defensive coordinator. He delivered big time and has been all season long. 5 interceptions of DJ Lagway, holding Clemson to 10 points on the road. He's been delivering. He's a big reason LSU is a top 5 team in college football right now. Just like he's delivered for the Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Check out DoorDash this Saturday. Let's break down Illinois, Indiana. Sonny, everyone needs to know the name Hank Beatty because this guy has just exploded for the Illinois receiving corps, which was a legitimate question coming into the year. You lose Pat Bryant to the NFL. The other receiver's name is evading me at the moment. Zachary Franklin. There we go. Like, you lose those 2 guys, and the question was, well, who's he throwing the ball to? It's pretty clearly become Hank Beatty. Look out for number 80 in whatever color uniform Illinois winds up wearing in this game. I hope it's a blue versus red showdown, by the way, just from a uniform junkie.
I'd like that. I also like Hank Beatty's season this year. You know, we kind of went through this as Illini fans 2 seasons ago. We lost Isaiah Williams and we lost Casey Washington, both to the NFL. And we're like, okay, who are we going to replace these guys with? Zachary Franklin was a late transfer in. And then we had Pat Bryant, who had kind of worked himself up progressively throughout his career. And he's ended up being one of the best players in the entire Big Ten Conference last year. Had those same concerns this year. We knew Hank Beatty was one of those guys who could make the jump. He had a very good bowl game against South Carolina in the Citrus Bowl, which we won, by the way, over the SEC. And we knew that there's a lot of talent in that wide receiver room, a lot of young talent, arguably more talent than the previous years. We just weren't sure which other guy would step up. We know Hank obviously has. He's arguably been the MVP of this team over the last couple of weeks. But who's going to be the other guy? We don't quite know because Luke Altmaier is really spreading this ball around. I think it's by design. I think Bret Bielema, again, in preparation for this Week 4 game, is not giving out too much information. I believe in 2 of the 3 games that Luke Altmaier has completed passes to at least 8 different guys. That's why you're not seeing numbers,
around.
Yeah, you're not seeing, multiple guys go for 80, 90 plus yards. I think, it's going to be interesting whether it is. We don't know if Justin Bowick is going to come back. He was my flag player for this year, a guy who I thought had a chance of breaking out and being a red zone target. And that's exactly what he has been. He had 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games. And then unfortunately he left early with an injury against Western Michigan. But, the key to me in any college sport, in particular college football, is you having a senior quarterback playing in his 3rd season in the same system is almost a cheat code at this point. And so I'm really looking forward to, if you and I know that Hank Beatty is going to be a target for Luke, that means Curt Cignetti absolutely knows. So I want to see what
Doesn't matter. Can't stop him. He's got 200-yard games in his first 3 as a go-to guy for this Illini offense. I'm all in on the Hank Beatty hype train there. So Goins, this Indiana defense, probably one of the more underrated units in all of college football. They have got, I think, NFL caliber guys really at all three levels of the defense. And before we get to that in just a moment, speaking of uniforms, I just want to commend both of you for the attire you have chosen for this particular segment. I was actually going to dog on Jacob because Sonny's got the team colors, right? He's got the Locked On Illini hat, the navy blue with a touch of orange. It's a classic look. It's great. And I was wondering where Goins' red support for Indiana is, and then I remembered it's kind of an icy cool gray Indiana sweatshirt that you've got.
Got some camo going on, just supporting the troops, supporting the boys.
What camo? I didn't see anything. Do you have arms? I didn't see it there. Anyway, so bringing this back to the game, Goins, this Indiana defense is going to face by far its biggest test, and that's another reason I like the Illini in this spot is Duke is not as good as I thought they would be early in the season. It's still a bigger test to me than what Indiana has gone through at their non-conference. This is the best team by far they're going to face. It's going to be the most physical team. And when you're playing a road game like Illinois is, the ability to go out, have a tone-setting drive, punch the other team in the mouth a little bit, set the tone, I think is huge. And that Indiana defense, I think, is going to have to come up with a response because I expect the Illini to have scored before the 8-minute mark of the first quarter.
I'll take that. Can we? Does FanDuel have that somewhere?
I'll start poking around. I'll call him. Make a prop bet. Yeah. When does Indiana score its first touchdown? Before or after 8-minute mark Q1?
I thought you said Illinois is going to score before the
Illinois. Sorry,
okay.
Illinois.
Indiana absolutely will. Illinois, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But no, you're absolutely right. I'm with you that I thought Duke was a much better team than they are. I think they're still about a year away from really competing in the ACC. And I thought that was a heck of a test for Illinois, and they just handled it easily. And I think that said more about Duke than it did Illinois. But your point still stands. Indiana hasn't played a P4 team. You've played Old Dominion, who looks much better than people gave them credit for, Spencer. You played Kennesaw State, who's not bad, and then Indiana State, who was
the defense of Kennesaw State is epic, and that's the first time it's happened here in Locked On College Football. First time for everything, though. That's okay.
Hey, I'm defending my guys, okay? Indiana
Owls.
State was bad, okay? 73-0, 40-something at half. I mean, it was not a test. And so you're right. Indiana's defense is going to be tested against an experienced quarterback, like you said, in Luke Altmaier, some really good receivers, and a big physical offensive line. But, Spencer, you said it. Indiana's got NFL dudes at all three levels, All-Americans at all three levels. Michael Kamar on the defensive line, Aiden Fisher in the linebacker spot, D'Angelo Pons as a corner, and then some really good dudes who have filled in around them as well. Brian Haynes is one of the best defensive coordinators in the Big Ten that doesn't get talked about enough. The Hoosiers will be ready. I am concerned, though, because big plays have been an issue. Alignment has been issues so far in these first couple of games. But I think last Friday night against Indiana State, Indiana got those things figured out. And I'm not going to question Curt Cignetti, Brian Haynes, and the defense until they give me a reason to. Even in your losses last year, defense wasn't really the problem. Go back to the playoff game for a second. After the big play to start by Notre Dame, Indiana's defense played really, really well. The offense just couldn't get going. I'm trusting Indiana's defense in this game to get after Illinois.
Can I, Jacob, have you give me a quick moment of trivia real quick?
Oh,
I want you to name
trivia. I'm so bad.
No. This is not going to require much from you. I want to see if I can get this. So give me Indiana's first three opponents, but don't name their mascots. I want to see if I know the mascots of all three of their schools.
You're going to know two of them, I'm pretty confident. How about Old Dominion?
Okay.
Okay, we'll go one at a time. Old Dominion.
Monarchs.
Kennesaw State.
Owls.
Indiana State.
Sycamores.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I was just thinking about that. That's a great trio of mascots to have gone up against, even if it's not a great trio of opponents. Old Dominion got Brent Pry fired, so that is something. That is something. They went toe to toe. They didn't go toe to toe with the Power 4 team. They blew them out of the water. So did New Mexico. So let's get to the moment people have been waiting for. Our predictions in this game, according to our friends at FanDuel, it is Indiana. Oh, it just jumped as we were recording. I'm not even kidding. It is Indiana minus 5.5.
Yeah, the public loves the Hoosiers, baby.
If you want to send your kid to college and all you want to do is just put some money into a particular wager, Illinois plus 5.5 is the lock of the century. So
Spencer doesn't have kids, by the way. Just
makes a good point. The over-under is set at 52.5. I like the defenses in this game, even though the offenses have started to showcase stuff going both ways. I think defense wins the game. I like the Illini. I think this is a dogfight. 4 quarters, 24-21. Illinois by a field goal gets it done on the road. Jacob, you're first, and then we'll end with a correct prediction.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. Look, I think the defenses will be active early on both sides. I think a very, very low scoring first half. Do you still have FanDuel pulled up? What's the first half scoring margin or scoring line in this game, Spencer? Not to
let me see if I can. Let me see if I can.
I think the defenses are going to get after it extremely early in this game. A lot of tensity in this game.
The first half total is 26.5.
I would take the under. I think you could see a 7-3, 10-7 type of first half, and then the offenses start to figure it out. You make adjustments in the locker room, and these two quarterbacks are going to be throwing it all over the yard by the fourth quarter. Indiana's going to win this game. It's going to be 27-21 Hoosiers in Memorial Stadium at night under the lights. Indiana gets it done. They start 4-0, and everybody can just talk about how good Indiana is. And quit talking about the crappy non-conference schedule. I've heard enough about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. This is a chance to silence the critics. And by the way, as in the legally binding tweet I sent out last week from Locked On College Football's Twitter account that I do indeed run, I will have to wear for an entire show an Indiana hat, courtesy of the game cap, that is scheduled to arrive today. If the Hoosiers win this game, I will have to don a hat of similar nature. Sonny, give me your prediction, man, and just make it a great one.
You know, Spencer, I've always considered you a gentleman and a scholar and
a neutral arbiter of all things college football.
Exactly, took the words right out of my mouth. And so, if you have those words, then who am I to say that you're going to be wrong? Bret Bielema and the Illini have outscored their opponents 59-6 after halftime adjustments in the last 2 games. Now you're telling me Bret Bielema has been planning for this game since last year, that he's been formulating his game plan since last year. I don't think there's any way this Illinois team loses this game on Saturday. I don't care what the public says. You know what? Again, the public said that the SEC was going to beat Illinois by 10 points, and Illinois came out with a victory there. I see it a little bit more high scoring, but only because of kind of what we talked about. I like both defenses, and I think there could be 1 or 2 defensive touchdowns coming in this game. I just submitted my official prediction. 30-27 Illini.
Oh, there it is. That's an over on FanDuel. Goins is just disgusted with both of us right now. We'll see who is laughing come Saturday. Sonny Verma, Locked On Illini. Jacob Goins, Locked On Hoosiers. Gentlemen, a great time as always. Upsets and some major storylines all in week 4 coming up next. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why there's Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like me or my guests today or you as well. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money, all without ever touching a spreadsheet. It's all about consolidating and simplifying and getting on the right path. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. Check them out at monarchmoney.com.
It's a big week in college football, and no game bigger than Illinois and Indiana. I'm Jacob Goins, host of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Sonny Verma, host of Locked On Illini. And look, Sonny, these are 2 great teams, 2 programs on the rise, and they're led by 2 guys who are pretty good at what they do in the head coaching position, Bret Bielema and Curt Cignetti. And we pose the question, if you're starting a brand new P4 program today, which coach would be better long term? That could be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however we want to go about it. Who's the better coach, and who would you take, and who should others maybe take in this situation?
You're exactly right, Jacob. Again, these are two programs that historically may not be the cream of the crop, but the sudden resurgence has these fan bases going very excited. Let's put it that way. It's not just us noticing, it's the entire Big Ten community trying to figure out where all these Illini and Indiana Hoosiers fans come from. And I'm excited about this little segment. We're going to be doing it all week long just for fun. It's like a way for us to just kind of banter back and forth and do our own little trash talk. We will say that we're going to keep things somewhat respectful here. There's not going to be a declared winner. You guys are going to decide who the declared winner is. You're going to hear Jacob's argument. You're going to hear my argument, and let us know in the comment section who you think presents a better argument.
And so I'll lay it out. I mean, clearly for Curt Cignetti, a guy that hasn't been a head coach forever, right? He's not somebody that's been a head coach 20, 25, 30 years, but in the few years he has been a head coach, he's won everywhere he's been. He's done incredible work at James Madison of all places, and then of Indiana of all places. 33-6, Sonny, is Curt Cignetti's record as a head coach. And I picked Curt Cignetti, yes, because of Indiana, but man, he's doing it at Indiana, a place that historically is one of the worst FBS programs in college football. He got here to a program that had more losses than any other FBS program in the history of the sport. And look what he's already done. In less than a year and a half, he turned it completely around, took us to a college football playoff, and has a chance to do it again. He just demands so much from his program and his players and the people around the building. And that's what really stood out to me when he got hired and when he stepped in was, look, I don't care how it's been. We're not running that way anymore. We're not going to operate that way. He demanded more money. He demanded facility upgrades. He demanded better players, better NIL, and I think Indiana has benefited from it. And then an in-game coach, he has proven he can make adjustments. He has a great game plan, and he truly does get the most out of his players. So, look, I know Curt Cignetti's age is a concern, sure, but I don't think he's slowing down any time. I think Curt Cignetti is a perfect fit for Indiana, and I think it'd be a perfect fit for any program in the P4.
I hear your argument, and I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, but I just think, unfortunately, Curt Cignetti right now is coming up against one guy who I think is just a superior version of Curt Cignetti. And I'm talking about, I know, I'm looking at the length of their careers. And obviously, Curt has been successful at James Madison. But you know what? Bret Bielema started off his career as the youngest head coach, and he was winning Big Ten titles at Wisconsin. He's got a very long resume when it comes to success at the college football level. And now people will point out that it wasn't necessarily success at Arkansas, but that Arkansas division that he was playing in, you're talking about the likes of Saban, Alabama. Georgia was very good at the time, always tends to be very good. It was a tough situation. And quite honestly, he was good for about 2 seasons before the things kind of went off rail. But he took over a program at Illinois, similar to how you just described Indiana. Historically, sure, back in the days that we claimed championships in the 1950s, but you know, in the modern era, Illinois has been just one bad coach after another. Bret Bielema not only wanted this job, he understood what it took to make this job attractive, in the sense where he came in, our previous head coach just stopped recruiting the state, period. Bret Bielema came in here. In his first couple of days, he made 1,000 phone calls to the local high school coaches in the state of Illinois, understanding that you got to build talent at Illinois from within. And that's what he's done. Every year he's raised the floor to this program. He knows at Illinois, you're not going to win by recruiting 4 or 5 stars. You need to find traits that you like in your recruits and coach them up. And when we talk about actual his assistant coaches, Bret Bielema has as long of a black book as anybody when it comes to finding assistant coaches and people that he's put into the NFL. Speaking of putting people into the NFL, that's also something Illinois has done a good job about over the last 3 or 4 seasons. Again, when it comes to just building a program all together, I just think that no matter what style of program that you have, Bret Bielema will figure out what needs to be done. And when it comes to in-game managing, I don't think anybody had more fourth quarter comeback wins than Illinois last year. And it's one of the things between him and Luke Altmaier. It's if you keep the game close, I'm really confident that Bret Bielema can pull it off. And that's why the answer to this question in particular is, who would I rather build a team around? This is no disrespect to Curt Cignetti. I just don't know if there's anybody in the country I would take over Bret.
Well, it's funny you bring up the idea that Illinois builds off of, 3 stars and a few 4 stars and builds them up. That's exactly what Indiana's having to do too, Sonny. And as we continue previewing Illinois and Indiana coming up on Saturday night in Bloomington, that's what's so fascinating to me about this game. This isn't Ohio State, Oregon. This is not the biggest 5 stars in the country from all 50 states represented on the football field. This is homegrown talent right here. Sure, you may have a player from outside the state here and there, but these are 3-star guys that fit the system, work extremely hard, and have been coached to their ability now. And both of these teams have All-Americans. You have NFL prospects. You've got dudes who are all Big Ten caliber players. And I think both head coaches deserve a ton of credit and respect for that. And that's, to me, Sonny, why this game means so much more to us than maybe to the likes of an Ohio State or an Oregon or a Penn State with the 5-star talent.
You're exactly right. And I think we'll probably dive deeper into this in our actual preview episode. But, Illinois is in the position they are because of the man that they have in charge, someone that we haven't had of this caliber, maybe ever in our program's history. And quite honestly, the same thing goes for Indiana. And that's why these fans are just so supercharged about this game. We both know that this could be arguably, I've said this on Locked On Illini already before, this could arguably be the most important football game for Illinois in over a decade. Not just for what it means this season, because we're going to be talking about, possible playoff implications for either side, right, but also for moving forward and where this is going to place this Indiana and Illinois battle in the hierarchy of the Big Ten moving forward.
Yep, no doubt about it. We continue previewing Illinois and Indiana this Saturday night in Bloomington. We've got coverage for you all week on Locked On Illini and Locked On Hoosiers as well. And we get you ready for a top 20 matchup in Bloomington on Saturday night here on the Locked On Podcast Network.